Hello, all. We are in week 13 of our Bible reading journey, and that means we only have one more week. If you are caught up on your reading, congratulations. That has been an incredible feat, an incredible journey through our scripture. If you are not caught up, first of all, welcome. Neither am I. I'm trying to catch up before our class tonight. But the great part of this week is that we actually only have a few days of reading. And so if you are behind, you still have time to catch up before we kind of close out our journey next Monday. So keep that in mind. Don't give up. Plug along. Even if you make a commitment to just read like crazy for a week and get all the way through, I commend you to do that and just try to finish this up with the rest of the group. This last week, you finished the book of Acts, which of course is the last historical book that we are going to read together. And that is telling the history of the early church getting started. And Acts is a book we don't spend a lot of time in. We have a couple of stories we revisit. We like to talk about Paul's conversion. We like to talk about Pentecost. And that's almost it on a regular basis. And so Acts is filled with stories that we probably haven't heard before. And so I hope you enjoyed that time with the early church. Coming after Acts, we read through a whole lot of epistles. And epistles, of course, is a different word for letters. And this is letters from Paul and other church leaders to the churches that they started throughout the region. And we know that they started these churches because Jesus mimicked what community looked like and told us why community is important. Jesus showed us that a life of faith is fortified by the community you surround yourself by. Jesus had to have community around him. And so Jesus needs it, so do we. And so we knew that the early church had to build up small communities throughout different cities and regions. And that is what we see as these correspondences between leaders of the church and these individual churches. And so I hope you noticed just how different these individual churches were, not only with their concerns, but with their population. And with the voices through which the leaders speak to them. Each of these letters is a unique insight, a unique little snapshot of the state of the early church. And what I love about it is that so much of that advice is so applicable to us today because we haven't changed that much in 2,000 years. The church just hasn't changed that much in 2,000 years. We still have the same kinds of disagreements. We still have the same kinds of triumphs. We still have the same kinds of questions. And so as we read through those books, I know that some of the things that they talk to us about are really challenging. When they tell us, when they address things like gender dynamics between men and women, when they address things like human sexuality, I know that can kind of sound a little abrupt to our ears, kind of wrong to our ears as well. And I hope that realizing that they're speaking to specific congregations in specific places at a specific historical time in a specific culture helps you understand that while those were commands for those early churches, they may not be needed commands for us today. And that, of course, is the ongoing struggle of the church as we read through Scripture, is how do we piece out the parts that are still applicable to us today, the stuff that still makes sense, and leave behind some of the stuff that is so specific to a culture or so specific to a people that it doesn't completely apply to us today. And we do that kind of automatically when we read through the Old Testament. Our mildew laws are a little different than the Old Testament mildew laws. We have some awesome mildew remover, so we don't actually have to burn down our house. You do understand, though. I mean, times change, the world changes, and yeah, and so I hope that you were able to kind of read through that with a discerning eye and with a lot of prayer as you discovered those words. Coming up, we just have a few more books to get through. We're going to read through the book of Hebrews, James, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, and the book of Revelation. Now, a lot of these are going to sound kind of similar to what we've already read. Hebrew is through a whole different voice. You're going to notice that almost immediately when you hit it. But Hebrews is speaking to the Hebrew people. And so it is looking at Jesus through an Old Testament lens. And so that's going to be kind of fun and interesting, I think, because we just read the whole Old Testament like a month ago. And so you're going to have a really fresh eye for that Old Testament reference as you read through Hebrews. James is a book that struggles a lot with the link between, it talks a lot about how we behave as Christians. What does it look like to behave like a good Christian? It's really a call to action in a lot of ways. And so I really love the book of James. I hope that y'all enjoy it too. First and Second Peter are attributed historically and traditionally to the Apostle Peter. We don't know that, of course, if that's for sure, but historically we know that that's where the attribution has been. And then First, Second, and Third John are historically attributed to John, to the Apostle John. And so, again, that's a historical and traditional attribution. Timeline-wise, it doesn't really line up, but we can appreciate what they're trying to achieve by giving it to the author of John. We have Jude, and then finally the book of Revelation. And the book of Revelation, if you've never read the book of Revelation, you can get ready. It's going to be a very different tone from the rest of the New Testament. It's going to harken back to passages from Ezekiel and to Daniel, where we have this super coded language. The first parts of John or Revelation are going to be really familiar because it's small little snippet letters to different churches in different regions. But the bulk of Revelation, when you think of Revelation, it's that apocalyptic literature. And remember that apocalyptic or prophetic literature is not always talking about the future. It's not always prediction based. A lot of the times it's coded language for what has happened or is happening. And so I will post some stuff on our Facebook group this week to help decipher Revelation a little bit. And we'll talk a little bit about it tonight in our Monday night class as well, just to kind of help you get ready for that book. That is a book, of course, like I said, like Daniel and some of the other ones that have been used over the centuries to predict the end of the time, the end of the world. And all those predictions have been wrong so far because here we are still rolling. But I'd like for you, when you read it, for it to be more than just some weird story. I'd like you to be able to see and seek some truth in there as well. So I'll try to give you some tools throughout the week to be able to do that. And then Revelation is the end, guys. We have Genesis and Revelation, and we will be done. I am so excited to celebrate that with you all. Next Monday, so a week from today, we are going to celebrate the finishing of the Bible. We're going to have a big meal together. I'm going to cook kind of a main dish, and I'm going to invite y'all to bring some sides and some desserts so that we can come together. If you have not been able to join our Monday night classes, I hope that you will still hear this invitation and feel like you can come and be a part of this final celebration. You have journeyed alongside us just as much as anybody else. So that is coming up next Monday, May 13th, 6 p.m., First Cup Cafe, same time, same place as normal, except without a whole lot less Bible talking and a lot more eating. But come and celebrate with us and just be a part of this journey. Friends, you are in my prayers, and I am inspired by each and every one of you. Those of you who have finished, congratulations. For those of you who are yet to finish, me neither. And know that I am journeying with you. I am praying with you. I am walking step by step, page by page with you. All right, friends, I'll see you soon.